Hey, what's up guys? Ezekiel the Barber back with another video for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, you are in the cut. So this is where I break down haircuts, kind of show people kind of what we do as barbers. For those aspiring barbers out there, kind of show you guys kind of, a little bit about the haircutting game. So first off, I like to comb everything out. Now this client, I have cut his hair before, so if you're not new to my channel, you probably recognize his face before. Normally this client gets a half on the sides, either like a half high fade or a one on the sides. In this case, we're going to use the half, which is also known as a OA or as a 1/16th guard. So all of that is basically known as a half. So we're going to set our first guideline. So that's what you see me doing here. Now I like to use metals to set my guidelines. Metals just get everything. I mean, there's just really straightforward, straight to the point. So it gets everything, the lift that you're looking for. So you really don't have to guesstimate with the guards. I mean, if you have a 2 guard, that's what you're getting. So in this case, we're looking for a half. So the OA is exactly what we're looking for. I always want to, keep caution and safety in mind. So you always want to be cautious in and around the ear area. So I always like to pull that ear back, always out of harm's way, because sometimes you can definitely catch that ear if you're not careful. So the best thing to do is just pull the ear out of the way, away from the blade. So as you can see there, those blades can get really close to the ears sometimes. That's not really what you want. You always want to be able to pull that ear back just like that. All right, and that's a lot safer approach when cutting hair. You can see me just getting that guideline really clean, going over things quite a bit until everything looks even. Now in this case, this client likes a mid to high fade, so I'm kind of going midway up. Sometimes clients like a little drop in their fade. Sometimes clients like their fade to go straight back. Sometimes clients even like extended drops. So that's we'll save that for a different video. In this case, this client, basically when I cut his hair, I do a slight drop, nothing too exaggerated. Right, so just still setting that guideline all the way around. Now my number one objective is to just make everything as even as possible. And this half look, this OA or that 1/16th guard is gonna basically give you this stubbly look. So if you wanna kinda get a close to bald look, under a 1, this would be basically the look to go with. The OA or the 1/16th guard, or just the 0 guard, they're all the same thing. Now, the clipper that I decided to use is the Oster Octane clipper. So with this OA, we're using the Oster Octane cordless clipper. As you can see, this clipper does work. I mean, it's gotten that hair out of there pretty fast. So that's why I like to use it. I like to use the metals to set my guidelines. So we'll just go ahead and do the same thing on the other side, just to basically keep everything nice and even. Now the Oster Octane cordless clipper is a very powerful clipper. Now they are not paying me to say this or advertise for them in any way. I just love this clipper. As a barber, I mean, this clipper does work. So it's cordless. So it gives you a lot of flexibility in that regard. Once again, always just want to keep that ear out of harm's way. So especially when that hair is long and it extends over the ear, you always want to make sure you pull that ear back to be able to get that hair behind the ear a lot easier and safer. Now there are so many different ways to cut hair. I like to cut with guidelines so that I know what system I followed. So if I ever have to go back to a length, I know exactly what guard I used during that phase of the haircut. So I just think that guidelines keep everything structured and kind of in sequence a lot better than freestyling a haircut. It's basically like freestyling a rap, you're kind of all over the place hoping that things come together, but when you write it, you're able to place things kind of where you want. So, it's pretty much that type of mechanism in cutting. All right, so you see a slight drop in that fade. It's not really a hard drop going towards the back. So I kind of like that. For my fades, a lot of clients I find kind of like a slight drop. Some clients like extended drops. Some clients like no drop at all, just a straight back fade. So it's really all a preference thing there. And once again, my number one objective here with this half is to kind of go over everything as much as possible from every different angle, just to make sure that I get those guidelines super clean before I go to my next guideline, that is. And I love those sound of the clippers. Definitely reminds you of that barbershop sound or getting that haircut. All my ASMR lovers out there. All right, so that looks pretty good for the first guideline. Looks pretty safe to go ahead and go to the second guideline. For that, I'll be using the 3.5 metal guard. So there it is there, that 3.5 metal. So we'll just go ahead and set the next guideline. So for this guideline, I like to kind of go straight up. I don't really like to curve into the head unless that's what I'm doing for like a faux hawk or something like that. But in this case, this is just a straight up fade. So with this guideline, I'm just gonna go straight up, not looking to dig into the top of his head. Once again, just looking to get everything nice, even, everything smooth, even if I have to go over it a couple of times. And this is about the range that I use when setting my guideline, in or around going to the top of his head. So I just like to go straight up, once again, not looking to dig in. So any dark areas, I'm just looking to make sure everything is nice and smooth. So any areas that may appear darker than others, I definitely want to go over those areas just to make sure everything looks the same. That usually, clean guidelines usually to me make for better fades, cleaner fades. So it is what it is there. All right, so in this case, I saw a few areas with that OA that I wanted to clean up a little bit, so just going back to that guard. Sometimes that happens. You'll go back and look and you'll see that there are a few hairs, a few areas that you think you can get a little bit cleaner, or you might have to go up a little higher on the guideline like I'm doing here. So it's just a part of the business. All right, so you could see basically the difference between these two guidelines now. I used a OA, which is basically a half, and then I used the metal 3.5. So you see the differences kind of in the transition of his hair. The lower you go, the lighter it appears. The more hair he has, the darker. So that's how you create that nice fade. Now, my number one objective is that line that you see. Even though it's not perfect, I still have to fade everything in. Now, although I like to kind of keep the line as even as possible, you still have to fade the hair in. All right, so now I'm going to use that number 2 metal, and I'm going to attack right at that line where you see the OA to the 3.5. I'm just going to go right at that little hard line in there. So. Now with hair, you definitely want to cut from every angle. Hair grows from every angle. So in order to kind of get everything even, you have to pretty much cut from every angle. Very huge when it comes to getting a clean haircut. All right, so you can see that guideline coming out a little smoother. Now, if I wanted to kind of keep things dark with that 3.5, I could have controlled that. It just, in this case, this client does like things a little tighter going into that top. So I use the 3.5 to pretty much take the bulk off, though on a regular basis, I use a number 2 in this top area. So it's almost like setting a guideline twice. But I use that 3.5 to kind of get that hair off a little bit more, control the darkness, if that makes sense a little bit more, because the 3.5 leaves a little bit more hair. So with that, I'm able to kind of control how dark that fade is. So that's why I'm not going up all the way with this 2 like I did with that 3. I'm only going up about a little of the ways, right at that bottom line and a little over, if that makes sense. So it kind of creates that fade, leaves that top of that 3.5 where I use that 3.5 kind of dark. So that's basically how you create that fade. You know, you're just going through the steps. And as a barber, you could put those steps almost wherever you want. As you can see here, my lines aren't perfect, but he still has to have a clean fade. So my number one objective is just to blend out that line that you see, that hard line. So from the half to that 3.5, just want to make sure there's no lines in the fade as much as possible. And there's all kinds of techniques on how to get there. So I'm going to use the number 1 guard, and I'm going to attack right at that hard line that we were just talking about. So that's why I do love clippers with a lever, is because it allows you to fade the hair. Now with the guidelines, you know, you're just cutting one length. As you can see there, we just set the guidelines. With this lever, it allows me to actually fade from short to long. So when that lever's all the way open, that's going to give you the longest cut. When that clipper lever is all the way closed, closest to the blade, it's going to give you the shortest cut. So that's pretty much how it works. Right now, it's positioned further away from the guard, which is kind of down, so it's going to leave a little bit more hair. So it gives you a little bit more chance at air, if that makes sense, because it's going to cut less hair. Now, when that lever is all the way closed, I mean, it's like a samurai sword, so that thing is just getting you a really close cut. So. Now, as you can see, I'm able to fade things pretty smooth without closing the lever. Eventually, I'll close the lever and attack right at that hard line at the bottom to see if we can kind of get that to erase a little bit. I usually always like to start with an open lever when cutting. That's an open lever. That's closed. So now we have that lever closed, which is going to give it the closest cut. So, all right, so things are looking pretty good there. This time, this client decided to square it off in the back, so we're just going to go ahead and square that back off. When there's stubble, there's still a little bit of hair left, so it definitely does matter because you can see the demarcation or the hard line. So we're just looking to kind of clean the neck area up, square everything out. Fade looks pretty clean from that angle. Once again, we're going from a half into a 3.5. You are in the cut with Ezekiel the Barber, and my client getting a chance to check out how we do it, how I did it. Whatever. All right, so everything usually requires some type of framework, outline work. So that's kind of what we're doing here. It's kind of outlining everything, doing the framework, making sure that this haircut looks really clean. For this, I decided to use the Fabulous trimmers. If you've watched my previous videos, you know I love this clipper. Definitely a really good clipper. Right, so always want to just use the corners of the clipper or the trimmer actually when cutting around the ear. Now in this case, this client is going to get a lineup, and he does go with the hard part, so that's basically what I'm doing now. And this clipper is great for that. It has those long teeth, which allows me to cut through all types of hair, and it gets a really clean cut, so that's why it definitely is a very popular clipper. So the Fabulous trimmer. All right, so things are finally coming together. Fade's looking pretty clean from this angle. I'm just using that comb to kind of keep the top hair out of the way when I do that lineup. So let's just kind of check out things from a different angle there. Right. Cool. So things look pretty good from that angle. Looking pretty good from this angle as well. Just kind of want to keep things even, so we're just going to line up the other side. And once again, just using that comb to kind of keep the hair out of the way so I can get a clean lineup. All right. I want to thank you all today for tuning in with me on this haircut. Please like, share, subscribe if you find this entertaining, like it, whatever. Definitely appreciate it. So here, just using the blow dryer to get out any loose hair or debris or anything. Also to add a little volume. So just kind of like to comb the front of the hair while I'm blow drying it to add that volume. Kind of helps for styling purposes in the end. Man, it's checking itself out there. All right, so I have a clipper over comb technique from blending the sides into the top. So I like to use this thicker comb, as you see how thick it is, with that number 1 on the Oster Octane cordless clipper. So as the sides transition into the top, kind of like to keep the fade a lot cleaner by using this technique. So these are like the finishing touches right here. You always got to add those finishing touches to your work as an artist. Finishing touches are some of the most critical parts in the haircut. It just kind of adds that signature touch, you know? So that's basically what we're doing. Fine-tuning this work of art. Some of those hairs in the back and that cowlick area right there, I definitely like to use this technique right there because a lot of people have issues where that hair sticks out in the back. They're like, can you help me out? So this is the technique that I like to do. It's just kind of clipper over comb, get things a little tighter in that back, help it smooth out so it won't grow out as fast and stick out as fast. Give them a little bit more time on their haircut in between haircuts. Definitely love the clipper over comb technique for fine tuning. All right, so definitely coming together. So this is kind of the fade here. Once again, we're just gonna blow dry some of this hair, get some of the loose hair out of there. All right. Now I like to use clear shaving gel. This is Precision shaving gel, so it makes it really easy for like the hard parts or to kind of get that area really clean, nice and easy. This is what I like to use, so I'll put a little Precision right in that hard part area. I've already put the part in there with the clippers, but this just makes it a little cleaner. It's going nice and easy with that blade, just getting things a little cleaner, allowing this hard part to last. Not applying a lot of pressure. You definitely don't want to do anything like this at home. Now I did go through barber school. I am a barber, so this is just what we do, but you know, you definitely shouldn't do this if you're not handy with the steel, if you know what I mean, or have the proper training. Definitely, normally a really relaxing experience for the client is a haircut experience because it includes everything that you basically seen today. All right. Pit stop for this gentleman, getting him back and ready to take on the world. All right, just try to get a better angle for you guys and still do my job at the same time there. Right. Once again, these are finishing touches, that techniques that barbers use. So just makes the haircut and everything that much more cleaner, lasts a lot longer, makes things that much more detailed. So kind of a number of things there. As you see me focusing. And the experience, furthermore, should be relaxing for the client. Nice and easy. It's pretty much how I like to try to make it as much as possible. Although no one's perfect. I've had my bad days. All right, so this is pretty much wrapping it up. You got a little bit of animation, what I call my Man versus Hero edition. In the cut. You are in the cut. This is basically how I cut it. All right. So once again, want to appreciate all of you for stopping by, this gentleman for stopping by. You know, here just always using the masters, just going through every step. So even though the haircut looked pretty good, I've always used the masters clipper just to add those fine-tuned finishing touches just to make sure everything looks clean. So it could just be all in my head, but I love this clipper that much that I just want to go through all my steps with it. So that's what I'm doing here. All right, so just using that blow dryer to add some volume, little product on the top. I always tell my client, give me 1 more minute, man, and I'll literally be out your hair. All right, so little product. All right. So this client kind of likes to comb it over depending on the length. Sometimes kind of spike it up. This case, it's long enough just to be able to comb it over. So you see the comb that I'm using kind of spaced, gives those natural finger wave look. So that's kind of what I'm using here. It's like where your fingers just naturally create that wave. So I love this comb because it has that spacing that's just gonna naturally create that for you. All right. So things looking pretty good from this angle here. This is kind of what we started with before the cut, right? So definitely a long shot from where we started to where we are. Destination. My man is back. He's like, I'm back. So it's always a good feeling for me as a barber, making my clients smile, resuscitating their look, getting them back out there to do what they do best. Right? You see me using the clippers just to kind of clean the neck area. Any hairs that are down there, you always kind of want to keep that clean. So that's pretty much how I like to get clean cuts. So, you know, as barbers, you charge what you think your worth is. Everyone charges whatever they charge. You know, some people charge more than their worth. Some people charge less than their worth. It is what it is. But, you know, to each his own. But, you know, we definitely put a lot of time and experience in our work. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. Definitely helps the cause. Thanks so much for checking out this video. Take care.